Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as well as those in the ether. On November 9th, 1921, precisely 100 years ago today, the USS Olympia docked at the Washington Navy Yard. This proud Navy cruiser completed its final sacred mission. Now, let me start by telling you a little bit about the USS Olympia. She was commissioned in 1895, and she came to fame as the flagship of Commodore George Dewey at the Battle of Manila Bay during the Spanish-American War in 1898. She was decommissioned in 1899 and then recommissioned in 1902. She fought during World War I and finally decommissioned in 1922. Her remarkable journey began on October 25th, 1921, as she left Le Havre, France, and on board her signal deck was a rather unique piece of cargo. The sailors and Marines built a protective wooden shell, covering it with waterproof tarp, and did everything they could to properly secure it, using, and I'm going to quote, an impossible amount of rope abundantly woven between two uprights that are still there today, like oversized yarn woven around a child's fingers. Because you see, Captain Graves Erskine, the Marines commanding officer, himself a hero and a dedicated combat veteran, remembered the punishing waves that he had experienced in his crossing over to England many years earlier. Sure enough, as they headed out to sea, they found themselves heading directly into a storm that was brought about by a hurricane that had struck Florida and a tropical cyclone. Tremendous waves, towering waves, roaring winds. If any of you remember the movie The Perfect Storm from 2000, was with George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg. There's this beautiful poster of the fishing ship trying to climb this very tall wave. Well, wasn't quite like that, because at 344 feet, this is not a fishing boat. So it just kind of crashes through the waves. However, it was very much a treacherous journey, and it took 16 days. In fact, finally, the seas began to calm about November 6th, and they made their way into Washington. In fact, finally, on November 9th, the ship made its way up the Potomac and pulled alongside Pier 3 at the Washington Navy Yard. There was a contingent of dignitaries who were there to escort the special package to the Capitol Rotunda, where the casket of the unknown soldier lay in state until Armistice Day. As you may have guessed, this is the story of the unknown, the tomb of the unknown soldier. Its history began in March 1921 when Congress approved the burial of an unidentified American serviceman at Arlington National Cemetery. The journey that we talked about actually began on Memorial Day of that year, when 4 unknown servicemen were exhumed from 4 American cemeteries in France. Army Sergeant Edward Younger selected that World War I unknown by placing a spray of white roses on one of the caskets. At the ceremony on November 11th, President Warren Harding awarded the unknown the Medal of Honor. In addition, the United Kingdom awarded him the Victoria Cross, France the Legion of Honor and Croix de Guerre, and the Gold Medal for Bravery from Italy. In 1956, President Dwight Eisenhower signed a bill to pay tribute to unknowns from World War II in Korea. They were interred in 1958. A Vietnam unknown who was interred in 1984 was identified in 1998 as Air Force First Lieutenant Michael Blasey. He was reinterred at a national cemetery in St. Louis. And echoing the great Paul Harvey, now you know the rest of the story.